Got it.
This is what he's talking about, the seam there.
That's pretty too.
He's talking about the seam there. One of them is this.
While modern quilts roll off factory lines in minutes, Amish newlyweds spend their first winter meticulously hand-stitching family quilts guided by their grandmothers. With every careful stitch, they join a tradition unchanged for centuries. Why does this craft remain essential to their marriage? Amish weddings typically occur in November after harvest. Within 2 weeks, young brides begin quilting instruction with grandmothers. Winter's shorter days naturally accommodate indoor crafting, while the first year establishes household traditions for their married life. Unlike modern honeymoons focused on leisure, Amish newlyweds immediately build practical skills that strengthen family bonds across generations. First lesson. A young bride's first formal quilting session begins before dawn, often around 4:30 a.m. on a cold December morning. Grandmother and granddaughter sit together in the soft glow of oil lamps, creating a private world of concentrated learning. The grandmother typically begins not with needle and thread, but with story, recounting the history of family patterns, explaining which designs were used for celebration quilts versus mourning quilts, and sharing the symbolic meaning behind traditional motifs like the wedding ring, sunshine and shadow, or broken star patterns that have adorned family beds for generations. Selecting fabrics. Fabric selection reveals deep cultural values within Amish quilting tradition. Unlike modern crafters who shop for new materials, most Amish quilts incorporate significant amounts of repurposed cloth, pieces from outgrown children's clothing, worn bed linens, or even a grandfather's work shirts. These aren't merely practical choices, they're deliberate connections to family history. This blue piece was from your father's first school shirt, a grandmother might explain, and this darker patch comes from the dress I wore when I was pregnant with your mother. Color choices follow strict community guidelines that vary by district. While Lancaster County Amish often use vibrant solid colors in their quilts, more conservative settlements restrict palettes to deeper tones like navy, wine, and forest green. Regardless of specific colors, every Amish quilt must balance the community value of humility with the artistic desire for beauty, a tension that grandmothers help newlyweds navigate through careful fabric selection. Pattern and design. Amish quilting patterns carry both practical function and profound symbolism. When a grandmother guides a newlywed through pattern selection, she's providing more than decoration advice. She's encoding life wisdom into fabric form. The popular sunshine and shadow pattern, with its alternating light and dark squares, represents life's inevitable cycles of joy and sorrow. The intricate double wedding ring design, with interlocking circles requiring precise cutting and alignment, teaches young couples about the discipline of marital commitment. The broken star pattern speaks to embracing imperfection in oneself and others. Pattern instruction happens through demonstration rather than written guides. Measurements transfer from grandmother to granddaughter via wooden templates worn smooth from decades of use. A set of these templates becomes one of the most treasured gifts a young bride receives. Most fascinating is how patterns subtly evolve across generations while maintaining core elements. Close examination of family quilts often reveals slight variations, a corner treatment modified here, a border width adjusted there, allowing each generation to express individuality within tradition. Grandmothers encourage these small innovations, understanding that living traditions must breathe to survive. The quilting frame. The quilting frame itself represents a technological tradition with social significance. Unlike portable modern hoops, traditional Amish frames are substantial wooden structures, typically 7 to 9 feet across, that anchor quilting as a central household activity. In most districts, a newlywed couple receives their frame as a community gift, often handcrafted by the bride's uncles or grandfather. These frames feature specialized engineering. Precisely spaced holes allow for tension adjustment as the quilt progresses. Strategically placed clamps secure layers without damaging fabric, and height adjustment mechanisms accommodate different tasks and workers. Most importantly, these frames are designed for multiple workers, physically embodying the community aspect of Amish life. While early lessons between grandmother and granddaughter happen with just two people around the frame, the structure anticipates future quilting circles where mothers, sisters, and neighbors will gather. This progression from intimate teaching to community practice mirrors the expanding social role of the newlywed within the larger community. Mastering hand stitches. While modern quilters typically use sewing machines for piecing and electric machines for quilting, Amish traditions rely entirely on hand stitching. With distinct techniques passed through generations, grandmothers begin by teaching the running stitch, the foundational technique that joins the quilt's three layers: top, batting, and backing, with tiny, even stitches. What appears simple to outsiders reveals remarkable complexity under closer observation. Lancaster County quilts average 8 to 10 stitches per inch, while more conservative settlements may require 12 to 14 stitches per inch. A proficient quilter develops such consistency that individual stitches become nearly invisible from a distance. Beyond the running stitch, newlyweds learn specialized techniques: the rocking stitch for creating gentle curves, the feather stitch for decorative borders, and the crucial knot and bury method that hides thread endings within the batting layer, leaving no visible starting or stopping points. Most grandmother instructors emphasize rhythm over speed for beginners. "Your hands should move like you're washing dishes or kneading bread," explained one Holmes County grandmother. "The needle follows your hands, not the other way around." This approach develops muscle memory that eventually allows quilters to maintain conversation while producing perfectly even stitches. The teaching philosophy. Quilt instruction reveals a distinct Amish teaching philosophy that contrasts sharply with mainstream American education. Grandmothers rarely begin with explicit verbal instructions, instead inviting observation and gradual participation. "Watch first, then do" remains the traditional approach, with newcomers starting on less visible sections before advancing to more prominent areas. Mistakes become valuable teaching moments rather than failures to be avoided. One Lancaster County grandmother explained, "When you make a mistake, we look at it together. Sometimes we fix it, sometimes we leave it, but we always learn from it." This approach produces what Amish quilters call humility stitches. Minor irregularities, intentionally left in even the finest quilts, as reminders that only God creates perfection. Perhaps most significant is the absence of artificial deadlines. Unlike modern crafting with its emphasis on finished products, traditional instruction focuses on process mastery. Grandmothers monitor progress by quality rather than completion time, creating a learning environment remarkably free from the pressure that characterizes modern skill acquisition. Daily practice routine. The quilting instruction schedule follows the rhythm of Amish farm life. Newlyweds typically dedicate 1 to 2 hours each morning to quilting practice, beginning after 4:30 a.m. breakfast and continuing until regular household chores demand attention around 7 a.m. This pre-dawn practice serves practical and spiritual purposes. Practically, it utilizes the quietest household hours for concentrated learning. Spiritually, it connects quilting to other forms of devotion that happen during early morning hours. Winter provides the most intensive learning period, with sessions often extending through February and March when farm demands remain lightest. As agricultural seasons intensify, quilting practice adapts accordingly, sometimes moving to afternoon sessions during planting season or temporarily pausing during harvest. Throughout the year, Sunday afternoons often feature special quilting gatherings where grandmothers and granddaughters from multiple families work together, creating natural opportunities for newlyweds to observe varied techniques and build relationships with other women who share their life stage. These weekly gatherings gradually transition the bride from learning primarily from her grandmother to participating in broader community knowledge exchange. First independent project. Approximately 3 months into instruction, most newlyweds begin their first independent project, typically a baby quilt measuring 36 by 45 inches. This transition marks a significant milestone in both quilting progression and marital development. The baby quilt selection acknowledges the cultural expectation of children while creating a manageable first project. With roughly 1/4 the fabric of a full-sized quilt, these smaller projects allow practice of all essential techniques while producing a completed piece within 6 to 8 weeks of regular work. Grandmothers guide pattern selection carefully, often steering newcomers toward geometric designs like nine-patch or shoe-fly that build fundamental skills. Color choices typically include neutral tones suitable for either gender, reflecting the Amish belief that baby gender should remain unknown until birth. The progress from instruction to independent work happens gradually. Initial stages involve daily check-ins with the grandmother, who might demonstrate particularly challenging sections. As confidence grows, these check-ins become weekly reviews, with the grandmother offering suggestions while increasingly respecting the newlyweds' emerging personal style. Most telling is that nearly 90% of these first independent quilts are preserved rather than used, becoming tangible records of skill development that families treasure for generations. Quilting and marriage lessons. Beyond technical instruction, quilting sessions provide invaluable spaces for grandmothers to share marriage wisdom with newlyweds. These conversations happen naturally alongside the rhythmic work of stitching, creating a context where sensitive topics emerge organically. "The quilting frame is where I learned most about being a wife," explained one Amish woman in her 30s. "My grandmother would tell stories about her early marriage while we worked, how she and my grandfather handled disagreements, managed household duties, or made decisions together. These conversations cover practical matters like food preservation techniques or laundry methods, but also address deeper marital topics: communication during difficult times, maintaining physical intimacy, balancing individual needs with community expectations, and navigating relationships with in-laws." The physical act of quilting itself becomes a metaphor for marriage that grandmothers often reference. Points where different fabric pieces join require the strongest stitches, as transition points in marriage need special attention. The hidden batting layer provides warmth without being seen, similar to how unspoken support strengthens relationships. Even the discipline of completing intricate patterns parallels the commitment required in lasting marriages. Through these layered conversations, quilting sessions transform into holistic preparation for married life that addresses emotional, spiritual, and physical dimensions of the new relationship. The Wedding Quilt Project. Approximately 6 months after marriage, most newlyweds begin their most significant quilting project, the wedding quilt that will adorn their marital bed. This full-sized quilt, typically 90 by 108 inches, represents both technical achievement and cultural milestone, signaling the bride's readiness to establish her own household traditions. Wedding quilts follow distinct requirements across different Amish communities. Lancaster County brides typically create white-on-white designs with intricate quilting stitches showcasing technical skill. Midwestern settlements often prefer colored patchwork tops with symbolic patterns like dove at the window or faithful hearts. Regardless of specific design, wedding quilts universally involve community participation. While the newlywed designs and pieces the top independently, the actual quilting happens in a formal frolic where multiple generations gather around the frame to complete the project. This structure creates a powerful moment of acceptance as experienced quilters literally join their stitches with those of the newcomer. Most wedding quilts contain between 50,000 to 80,000 individual stitches and require 250 to 300 hours of combined work. The grandmother's role shifts during this phase from primary instructor to quality supervisor, ensuring the community effort maintains consistent standards while honoring the newlyweds' design vision. These quilts become cherished family heirlooms, with many communities maintaining detailed records of wedding quilt patterns and participant names in family Bibles, alongside birth and marriage dates, underscoring the quilt's significance as a physical embodiment of community bonds. Passing the tradition. The quilting instruction cycle completes as newlyweds eventually become grandmothers themselves, teaching the next generation. This continuity creates remarkable technical consistency. Experts can often identify specific family lineages by examining stitch patterns and design preferences across multiple generations of quilts. What makes this knowledge transfer so effective is its gradual progression. Most Amish girls begin basic quilting exposure around age 6, helping to sort fabric scraps or thread needles. By adolescence, they join community quilting circles in limited roles. The intensive instruction period following marriage builds upon this foundation while adding the deeper cultural and spiritual dimensions of the craft. Despite outside pressures, quilting traditions remain remarkably resilient in most Amish communities. A 2022 survey across 5 settlements found that 87% of Amish women under 30 could hand quilt competently, compared to less than 5% of their English, non-Amish, counterparts in surrounding counties. This persistence reflects quilting's function beyond practical bed coverings. As one elderly Amish quilter explained, when we teach quilting, we're not just showing how to make something, we're showing how to belong to something larger than yourself. Perhaps the most profound aspect of quilting instruction happens without explicit discussion. Through the rhythmic work of hand stitching, grandmothers model a distinctly Amish approach to spirituality, one where ordinary activities become forms of devotion when performed with proper intention. The early morning quilting hours naturally blend with traditional prayer times, with many sessions beginning in silent reflection before conversation emerges. The repetitive motion of stitching creates a meditative state that many Amish women describe in spiritual terms. "When my hands are quilting, my heart can listen better," one grandmother explained. "Sometimes the most important teachings happen without words." This integration of spiritual practice with practical skills reflects core Amish theology, where daily life and religious devotion remain inseparable. Unlike more evangelical traditions that emphasize verbal expressions of faith, Amish spirituality manifests through embodied practices that shape character through repetition and community accountability. Quilting specifically embodies Gelassenheit, the Amish concept of yielding oneself to God's will and community needs, the patience required for precise hand stitching, the humble acceptance of imperfection, and the subordination of individual expression to collective patterns all reinforce this central spiritual value that sustains Amish community life across generations. As we've seen, when Amish grandmothers teach newlyweds to quilt, they're transferring far more than needle skills. They're encoding cultural values, marriage wisdom, spiritual practices, and community connections into every stitch. In a world increasingly focused on individual expression and technological efficiency, these intergenerational quilting traditions remind us that some human needs remain constant: the need to create with our hands, to learn from our elders, and to belong within something larger than ourselves.